By the end of this video, you will have 10 tips that teach you how to read more effectively and how to make reading fun again. I will start with more beginner-friendly tips and move on to more advanced ones. My first tip is to read books that will help you with a problem you are going through right now. This is why 99% of the books I read are on relationships. Please help me. In all seriousness, this will keep you motivated to read as you're actively learning something that might serve a use in the real world. For example, recently I got super annoyed at how unpredictable the weather was in the weather app. To fix this, I read The Secret World of Weather and can now predict the weather that will hit Cornell with 20% certainty. It's something I'm still working on. Tip number 2 is to realize that you don't have to finish a book. Most nonfiction books are one main idea hidden around a ton of supporting evidence and background information. There's a law of diminishing returns when it comes to reading books. If you're halfway through a book and feel that you have gotten the main gist, feel free to set it down and pick up something else. With the number of books in the world, they need to fight for the right to your time, not the other way around. My third tip is to ask yourself why you want to read a book. No, really. Most people miss this crucial step when picking up something to read. Go through 3 to 4 sentences in your head of what you're trying to get out of the book. My fourth tip is to never have your TBR list in plain sight. Novelty is a major factor in how excited you are to do something. The books in your TBR list won't excite you as much if you see them every day. All you have to do is tuck those books into your closet, close that TBR list on your phone, or even delete your list altogether if you're feeling dangerous. My fifth tip is to pick books of a different genre every single time. If we define ourselves as someone that only reads science fiction, we will be significantly more likely to fall into a single pattern of thought. I fell for this mistake a couple of months ago when I read 3 books on psychology in a row. I literally became a psychology. This is why I always try and pick something of a different genre when I read again. Not only does it make it more likely that I'll open myself up to new ideas, but it genuinely is more fun to read because I get to experience something new. My sixth tip is to apply something from a reading session as soon as possible. Action is the best way to learn. Most of what you consume will become ineffectual if you don't actively implement something from what you're reading. One great way to do this is to star actionable things and highlights of books that you read. Then, after your reading session is over, you can quickly go through all of the highlights that you made and find any starred sections you can to act on that day. My seventh tip is to pick books that challenge your beliefs. This will keep you from falling for confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the phenomenon that causes us to search out and consume information that validates what we already believe we know. Makes sense that we like to validate our ideas because it makes us feel good about ourselves. The problem is that it defeats the entire point of learning. The main reason I read books is to broaden my perspective of the world. I'm not saying you have to only read books that disagree with your ideas. I'm just saying that if you pick something up and the first sentence makes you go, huh? Don't immediately put it down. My eighth tip is to rent out books from Libby or the library. Having a deadline makes it infinitely more likely that you will finish something on time. If you rent out books from the library or the library app called Libby, you will feel obligated to finish or at least get through some of the books you read. We have all had those weeks where we don't read anything. Having due dates in place makes that much less likely to happen. If you're starting your reading habit, I would not recommend you do this as it might make reading feel like a chore. The most crucial part of beginning to love reading is enjoying doing it. My ninth tip is to read in 90-minute bursts. This tip is not for everyone as it takes an insane ability to focus. You won't be able to do this if you are starting out a reading habit, but it will most certainly benefit you if you can. Reading in 90-minute increments is so effective because it's scientifically the longest the human brain can focus without taking significant losses in concentration. It took me a long time to get to this point, but I can now say that I can finally read for 90 minutes without stopping. No brain fog, no daydreaming. I'm talking 90 minutes of pure babanza. Clap for me, please. Give me a couple of claps. Thank you. The power of this technique is insane because now, even if I can only read for a 90-minute block, I get a ton of reading done nonetheless. I recommend that you start reading for only 15 or 30 minutes straight and slowly build your way up as you get better and better at focusing. Tip number 10 is to read with a pen in hand. Now, this won't work if you're an e-reader like me, because you don't have a pen. I mean, unless you want to write on your e-reader, never mind. But the idea of writing with a pen in hand is that you actively engage with the material while reading. This means highlighting sections of particular interest, creating book notes using pen and paper, or note-taking apps like Roam Research or Obsidian. You must realize you don't have to take away every piece of information from the text. Instead, it would be best if you only highlight or extract things that resonate with you or apply to your life. By reading this way, you turn a passive process into an active one and remove much more information from the text than you would have otherwise. If you want to learn more about how to read with a pen in hand, check out my video on using Readwise to retain vastly more of what you read from books. As always, have a fantastic day and bye-bye.